Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Microsoft Flight Simulator mods, tools, and add-ons, and today we are talking about aircraft enhancements, and a couple of aircraft you can download for free that just might improve your simulation experience just a little bit. Stick around. If you are interested in any of my tutorial guides for Microsoft Flight Simulator, or simply interested in supporting the channel, consider joining me on Patreon. Patreon subscribers level tier 2 and above have access to all of my guides as well as any future guides that come down the road. Patreon link can be found in the description below. Alright, so first off, folks, we are starting out by talking about FlightSim.to, as pretty much all of you probably know by now. FlightSim.to is the best place for Microsoft Flight Simulator add-ons, whether it be 2020 or 2024, but I do want you guys to also know there is an Xplane.to. It's not near as populated, but I figured I'd start spreading the word because the more developers we can get to start posting there, the better it will be. As much as I love Xplane, I do hate the forums that they have and the way that we download mods from there. I just think it's a little bit more clunky. The only thing I hate about FlightSim.to is the 219 million, 4 billion, trillion ads that are all over it, but hey, someone's got to pay the bills, so I get it. Alright, so getting right into this first, we're talking about the Asobo Cessna Citation Longitude Realism mod. This is a mod that has been continuously updated since its inception back in Flight Simulator 2020. Now, you guys can see that it does say 2024 is not supported for the Longitude, and that makes sense because of the overall structure that was changed with the Longitude in 2024. However, the Cessna Citation Longitude is still one of my absolute favorite aircraft and probably one of the best, if not the best, private jet or business jet class in Microsoft Flight Simulator, no matter which version we are referring to. And what this modification does, even though that the Longitude has already seen a ton of improvements based on the various sim updates, the Longitude has seen a lot of love, and especially in the Department of Avionics, largely apart from working title. The flight model and some of the overall characteristics of the Longitude still weren't quite right. And McGouch 425, he does an absolutely fantastic job with multiple aircraft. If you guys were to click on I would recommend that you follow him here with this follow button, and you guys can actually click on his profile page and it will take you to a bunch of his different mods. But he does a ton of different aircraft, and that he is drastically improved. Very simple, very clean add-ons, no loss of FPS or things like that, and a massive improvement to the overall aircraft performance. There would definitely be things you're going to notice pretty damn quick, and I would say most commonly you're going to see those on takeoff and landing. The takeoff and landing performance, after I installed his mod, I was able to reference a real-world POH. Don't ask me how I got a hold of one, but I did. And managed to get the numbers pretty damn close to on the money based on the behavior of the sim. So that's number one, Cessna Citation Longitude Realism mod. Make sure that you guys check it out. A link to all of these, of course, will be down in the description below. Next up, we have a mod for an aircraft that is for both 2020 and 2024, and that is the DR400 Romeo. This is, again, an improvement modification and adds realistic behavior to the aircraft, hence the Realism Edition. Again, another aircraft, very short and simple on this one, that brings the aircraft much, much closer to real-world POH data, as you guys can see here, that it's actually specifically referenced here as well, which is a big kicker. The DR400 is much like what you would see something like a Cessna 172, the 152. It's a training aircraft, and that's all I meant by that. Obviously, you have high wing versus low wing. I didn't physically, no, they're nothing alike, but their purpose, they're all training aircraft. They're all your starting aircraft, right? And so the DR400 is actually a really neat little low wing starting aircraft. I personally like to hang out in the Pipers for low wing, but hey, it is still an absolutely wonderful little aircraft. But what was really nice about it is that its performance in default Microsoft Flight Simulator was just not there, right? It just wasn't there. And so again, you can see a lot of behavior of the aircraft is adjusted in this particular mod, bringing the aircraft to a more realistic performance and operating standards based on real-world POH and real-world flight data that was available for the aircraft, bringing the aircraft to where it should have been coming out of the gate. But again, if you guys like little general aviation aircraft like this, if you're a big fan of the Cessna 172s or 152s or 150s, I do recommend you guys check this one out as well. This is, with this mod, this this aircraft is a fun little plane to fly around if you are like me and you prefer the low wings. The high wings are better for that visibility though, so keep that in mind when you're trying to track your runways. Next one up is if you guys are wanting a very nice rendition of the UH-60, you can grab it from Delta Simulations. It is a fantastic version that doesn't offer all the bells and whistles that we just received with, I believe it was Blackbird Simulations, right? Milviz, was it Milviz? I can't remember now. Gosh, I can't keep them all straight anymore, but you guys know which one I'm talking about. This is a different version. Now, this particular mod enhances the Delta Simulations, is why I mentioned Delta Simulations, and make sure you guys consider donating to them if you enjoy the helicopter. But so you take the freeware Delta Simulations UH-60, specifically version 3.0.1, and this add-on, again, is a UH-60 performance enhancement. Now, I will tell you from flying both, especially after the latest patch that Blackbird Simulations did with their UH-60, it definitely made a significant difference. Now, to be more specifically correct, I'm sorry, I just caught myself. It is the MH-60 that Blackbird launched, but you guys catch what I'm getting at here. So, is this the Delta Simulations version quite up to the Blackbird Simulations, especially after their latest release? No, but if you're looking for a very nice comparable version of the aircraft, Delta Simulations is certainly the way to go. Add this enhancement on top of it, and you've got a fine version of the UH-60 helicopter. So, it's not kind of said, it's not going to have the mission support and all that really cool stuff that we have with the Blackbird Simulations version, but if you just enjoy flying the helicopter around, this is a fantastic thing to have. You can see it works for Flight Simulator 2020 as well as 2024 and brings the aircraft up to a bit closer to real world standards. I'm sorry guys, I have been on the phone all day long, so I cannot talk today. My tongue is just done. But anyways, this is definitely a very, very nice rendition of this particular aircraft, and I highly recommend that you guys check this out as it's free across the board. Next two are going to be full-blown aircraft that you guys can download from FlightSim.to. I do not know how to say this. I'm not going to try it, but this is the aircraft we're talking about because I'm going to say it wrong. I want to say Guépard, but I don't think that's right. Anyway, but this is a 100 horsepower, high wing, very small, tiny little aircraft, fun for cruising around. I grabbed this one earlier in the week and was testing around with it, and because of the very nice glass door, your visibility is absolutely outstanding, especially given the fact that it's a high wing aircraft. So this is a fantastic plane for just general aviation, sightseeing, cruising around in the backwoods, and you can land it at just about anywhere you want as long as the surface allows. But you don't necessarily need a whole lot of runway to either get it off the ground or on the ground, and it has, you guys can see, quite the list of steps that you need to make sure that you take in order to fly the aircraft. It also comes with full documentation for the plane, giving you a full feature checklist as well as operating procedures for the aircraft. The aircraft is completely free, you guys, and was a ton of fun. As you guys can see, the texturing is a little bit down, but it's certainly within the realm of a free aircraft. One of the things that I hate commenting on, but I always feel the need to mention it or someone's going to beat me to it, and probably in a much less nice way, is that when it comes to free aircraft, I don't expect a whole lot in the world of texturing on the dash, but if you look at everything else, there was clearly a ton of detail. Look at the nuts, the rivets, the bolts. Everyone has put a ton of work into all of this, whoever worked on this, and it is very, very clear. The only thing that I'm referencing here is you can see the gauges are a little bit on the flat side, and so is the dash panel. Could use a little bit more depth. However, it is still fantastic, and one of the really cool things that I enjoy about this aircraft is it is almost a seamless experience in virtual reality, especially when you fly it out in the areas that it is designed to fly in, you know, out in the middle of nowhere kind of thing. I have personally a great time with this aircraft. It's not a fast aircraft, it's not a maneuverable aircraft, it's not going to break any speed records or maneuverability records, but I promise that you'll have a good time flying it, especially if you enjoy aircraft that are great for sightseeing. This is definitely the way to go. Finally, up next, we have the Starr Bumblebee 2. Guys, this, believe it or not, is a real plane. They have one. I think there was only one ever built, and if it's the one that I'm thinking of, it is actually, at least it was, out here at Pima Air and Space Museum. It's either the real thing's out here or there's a mock-up out here, but in Tucson, Arizona. But this actually was a plane. It actually flew, believe it or not. It is terrifying to think about. I don't know how anyone would ever get this thing off the ground or why you'd ever want to. Personally, that would scare the living hell out of me. Like, that just does not offer a whole lot. I mean, could you imagine what's the glide ratio on that? Throw a rock out and follow it down. And so you can see this is built for Flight Simulator 2020 only. It's a fun little aircraft to just get up and scoot around. Again, this is a real world aircraft. This is not just some fantasy plane. This does exist. I have personally seen it with my own eyeballs. When I finally saw it here on FlightSim.to, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I remember as a little kid seeing this thing in the Pima Air and Space Museum thinking there was no way. I couldn't even imagine being crammed. Look at the canopy. Look, could you imagine cramming your head in there? Could you imagine thinking about what would happen if you hit something? And so I had to grab it. I put my VR headset on. It didn't do great in VR. I don't think it was necessarily optimized for it. Or I could have just been having a bad VR day. You know, like a bad hair day. This is a bad VR day. It could have been too. But I will tell you that it was just micro stuttering, some weird artifacts that was occasionally happen here around the gauge cluster as I turned my head. But nothing crazy. But the overall experience of flying this thing was ridiculous. A little unnerving. Rather one of those things that gets the hairs running up on the back of your neck, and then as you bring it down to fly, you feel like you're flying a golf cart, or more like a go-kart is more accurate, like the ones that you used to build as a kid, you know, with the shopping cart and the cardboard wheels that you weren't supposed to take from the grocery store until your mother found out that you had it stored at your friend's house, and she made you take it back to the Abco grocery store. Yeah, you guys too? Yeah, that happened to me. Anyways, very, very fun little aircraft. Absolutely was just blown away when I saw this was available, and I definitely recommend it. If for no other reason to make you guys giggle, try it again. This is not a fantasy plane. It really does exist. All right, guys. Well, that's going to wrap up today's mods, tools, and add-ons aircraft edition for Microsoft Flight Simulators 2020 and 2024. As always, folks, stay safe and healthy. You know the drill. Links down in the description, and I'll see you in the next one.